Yeah,
How's this one for?
read one. Yeah.
Yeah, how's this one? True values. Abu Sayyid was once asked, which was the true blessing of God, a long life or a short one? Abu Sayyid answered, if a life is spent exclusively in love and remembrance of God, then 100 years of such a life is too short a span. If, however, a life be spent exclusively in running after pleasures of the senses, then even 24 hours of such a life is a burden our Mother Earth can ill afford to carry.
Let me ask you something. I was listening to that Bombay group, and Jimmy Kahn was saying that Baba said that people shouldn't be actors and they shouldn't be in films because, and his proof was that Baba told Bayram not to put his twin sons into a movie.
On the flip side, he told Hollywood that movies are an
Yeah.
incredibly
I
important
wouldn't.
medium.
Yeah. Don't believe everything you hear.
Yeah, because that's what Anna Rosa was trying to tell me, and
Yeah.
I didn't listen to her.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's probably true in some contexts, but you know what happened with the Quran is that these are revelations that Prophet Muhammad got for specific people and tribes.
Well, yeah.
And what happens, there were like a couple of Jewish tribes who who betrayed him by not helping him in this battle, and which left his own man exposed. So one of the revelations was to these two tribes, and it's not that he was condemning Jews universally. It was just these two tribes that betrayed him.
Right.
And what happens is these instructions sometimes get universalized, and they're not meant to be. He told Adi and Rhoda Dubois that they shouldn't eat chicken, but
Yeah.
Daniel has Kentucky. I mean, Dan Sparks has Kentucky Fried Chicken every night. Look at he's still doing good.
Lightning hasn't struck him yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was really surprised to hear that from those Bombay people.
yeah.
Well, it's not these Bombay people, it's one person, right?
One
So,
person. Yeah,
Well, but there were some people who were agreeing with him.
yeah.
well, they'll agree with Jimmy
Yeah,
Kahn because he's Jimmy Kahn.
yeah. I don't. Yeah. I don't,
Now, if
consult
Jeff
your
tells
own.
you,
You consult your deepest heart and do what it tells you.
And they did talk about, like, if you have a question, like, put your hand on your heart and ask Baba and then listen to the answer you get deep inside.
Yeah, yeah. That's. I mean, that was. I mean, this whole book is about opening up that deeper heart so that your intuition can guide you in all of these like complicated situations. It has a way of seeing clearly through all the complication. Yeah. When I'm at the center Saturday, and so I can be in the barn or I can be in the lagoon cabin, and so I start thinking of all you folks, and I start because I see Mayor Prasad here. I start on the West Coast with Mayor Prasad, and then and of course Paula and Judy Robertson, and I work my way east, and I get to Prakash and Sally and Becky and all of that. And I go up to Buffalo, and I get some of those people, and so you've all been remembered in Baba's in the lagoon cabin.
That's Jeff.
Oh, nice.
I go down to Florida, and I get Marge and the Chapel Hill area. There's a whole bunch of them there.
How about Connecticut?
I get to Connecticut.
oh no, we skip Connecticut.
Oh wait, there's some people that aren't in the Oversoul, right? I mean,
Hey Jeff, I thought I'll just add quickly something you already just mentioned. I think in all the things that people say, I mean, like Tina was mentioning about something being mentioned about eating meat and all that stuff. I think that they had to be careful to mention the context in which it is said. The context is so
Yeah,
critical. Like we just,
yeah,
otherwise, we can totally say that Baba has said this and then boom, move on, and then that can spoil the whole game.
But
yeah,
he laid down no precepts. He
yeah.
came not to teach but to awaken.
You know,
And
Sam,
just
Sam Carawalla, the book Angela was reading, but Baba said to Sam, "Do you think God looks over your shoulder to see what's on your plate? It's not what goes in your mouth, but what comes out."
He's looking over Angela's shoulder right there.
Yeah, yeah, he is, and he's not quite happy with that extra piece of cheesecake.
Nick Principe told a little story that I thought was so cute about Mara. He was on the porch with her and some other lady, and Mara went in and got tea and brought it out and started putting and started putting sugar in her tea. And the lady said, "Oh, Mara, you shouldn't put sugar in your tea. You know, that's not good for you." And Mara started giggling. And she couldn't stop laughing. And finally, either the lady or Nick asked her, and they said, "Mara, what are you laughing about?" And she said, "Do you really think that whether we put sugar in our tea or not, that's going to get us closer to Baba?"
Good, excellent. You know, when Nick went to India the first time, someone told him that he should get prasad from the master himself. And he kind of innocently, he was urged by a number of people. So he got there and he went to the tomb and he came out of the tomb, and then this little lady gave him a couple of candies. And he was kind of offended. I wanted, prasad from the master, and this little lady just gave me a couple of pieces of candy. And so he went to Marazad, the next time, and he brought it up with Eric. So, this is his first trip. And he said, I came and I wanted to get prasad from the master, and there was some little lady just gave me a couple of candies. That happened to be Mansari, actually. And Eric said, even the air we breathe is his prasad if we take it that way.
Oh, I like that.
Even the air we breathe is his prasad if we take it that way. What a beautiful thing to say. Well, should we have a moment of silence?
Yes, let's do
Or
that.
period of silence? Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
So, most of you know the format. Angela will scan the gallery and see who to pick on to read, but you can just refuse and say and pass if you want. So if you're chosen, you can read one of the sections, and then we can open it to any kind of discussion or questions, whatever. Now, this next section we're coming to requires a few words, I would say, because Darwin normally doesn't wander over into the esoteric realm. But in the next sections we're coming into, he discusses a couple of the terms, universal mind and also first cause. And here he kind of gets into linking up our mind with the universal mind. And he quotes Baba, and Baba says, whatever you want to be, that you become. And in the discourses, Baba went so far as to say, if you meditate deeply on Napoleon, you will become like Napoleon. And this is how powerful the mind can be. And there was in the 30s, there was an artist that came to Baba, and he complained to Baba that his creativity was blocked. And Baba told him to think of yourself as one of the greatest artists in the world. There's no harm, Baba said, in thinking this way if it unlocks your creativity. So Darwin equates the universal mind, which is Baba's term, with the formless aspect of God. And of course, infinite God. And of course, we take Baba as the infinite God in human form. And I think of it as like the infinite God is like the sun that shines on everyone equally. And the avatar, it takes that very same sunlight and focuses it personally on each one of us. And, Darwin says, this is an aspect of Darwin that I found a little bit unusual, and I couldn't quite relate to it, but he does say if you make suggestions to the universal mind, it will carry out those suggestions. He used to say if you suggest to someone hypnotizes you and says that you're a rabbit, and you're on the stage, you start hopping around like a rabbit. That's how powerful those suggestions can be. So, we're all familiar with the dynamics of affirmations, which when made to God, can, lead to the manifestation of abundance. Some people find that. But Darwin says if we use that same dynamic for with the universal mind of manifesting the divine qualities, that the universal mind will come through and help us with those. By divine qualities, I mean, love and empathy, forgiveness, kindness, all of those great qualities that are at the deepest level of our heart. So, but then of course he says that if you turn to Baba, it's the highest way for these qualities to be awakened in us, those divine qualities, and also the fastest way to get to the goal. So anyway, that gives you a little background of the universal mind, which is a Baba's term, but it's I find it a little hard to work it in with my own kind of life with Baba. But anyway, so let's start. Angela knows the page always.
Yes, I mark it. It's page 78.
I wonder if the paragraph just before that would be a good context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, read that first. Yeah.
As spiritual aspirants, the new paradigm we need to create includes the supreme qualities of purity, self-effacement, and love. To counteract the old paradigm, we need to assert those qualities as our prototype so that this new paradigm can emerge. Okay, programmed suffering. In some ways, we are our own worst enemies. We tend to unconsciously program negative suggestions, thus dissipating our forces without realizing it. The consequence is that we suffer. But Meher Baba says that 99% of human suffering is unnecessary. He goes on to say, through obstinate ignorance, people inflict suffering upon themselves and their fellow beings. And then, strangely enough, they ask, why should we suffer? I believe that the 1% necessary suffering is the poignant suffering of the surgery necessary to become free, to let go of limitation. Our self-imposed suffering persists because we do not trust God and turn everything over to Him. In Meher Baba's My Wish, where Baba says, when you suffer, think, Baba wants me to suffer. I believe that he is telling us to turn away from our self-programming and be open to God's plan for us, his programming. It is not that Baba wants us to suffer, but that he wants us to put our focus on him as a way of stopping the cycle of unconscious programming. I have such a good example of this in my own life that
Go ahead, yeah.
About a year ago, I had broken a tooth, and I went to the dentist, and the bottom part of the tooth had to be pulled out. And it took me a couple of weeks before they could actually take me in to do that work. And so, like, I'm kind of, my mind, I'm starting to kind of go down and feel kind of down about all this. I can't eat. It's cutting the inside of my mouth, and I'm trying all different kinds of things to keep it from cutting my tongue. And so finally I get in there, and, I see the dentist for the second time, and he's ready to pull out the tooth. And after the 2 painful injections to get the, to make it numb, I'm sitting there for a long time, and I'm thinking, gosh, it's, this is going on, and it's, after a while I realize, he doesn't seem to be getting anywhere and what's happening, and the hygienist is also starting to get tired, and she's looking. And because it's, this is a low income place, it's, we're all on Medicaid or whatever, and there's a whole waiting room full of people outside. And this guy has been working all day. And I'm in a chair that has no headrest, and and he's working on the bottom of my jaw, and a half hour, 45 minutes then has gone by, and I'm like, I can't, my jaw's about to drop off. I think I'm, it's going to break or something. And I'm laughing about it now because as soon as I thought of Baba, it was like just at that moment, and really there was about 20 minutes left in the time it took me to suffer. I'm giving it to him. It's yours, Baba. And as soon as I said that, it occurred to me I could lift up my own head. And just symbolically, when you think about lifting up your head, and it changed the atmosphere. The guy who was working on my, tooth first said, "What's she doing?" And the hygienist said, "She's supporting her head." And it was like a little bit of hope in her voice came out, and then he's like, okay. And so now he's talking to me more about what's going on. And I feel like all 3 of us suddenly are working together, and my entire attitude changed. And it took just that moment of thinking about Baba. Until then, I was a victim. And then suddenly I wasn't a victim.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful. Yep. Becky. Yeah. I know well, we all have, countless stories where we brought Baba into something and the situation changes.
yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm so excited about this chapter because I just wanted to share, sometimes I feel it's a real gift that we have Darwin's book plus his knowledge about the esoteric side of things that he's sharing a little bit here. But if anybody's interested, I know I had a lot of challenges in my personal life, even though professionally I was doing really well. And what was happening was my subconscious mind was running amok, unaware, and repeating old messages and tapes, like Darwin talks about programming. And I was going through a rough time, and kind of by accident, I thought there's no Baba group where I live, and I need to connect with spiritual people. So I wind up finding a silent unity service. And I go there, and the whole time I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if I should really be here. Maybe I should just find a Baba group and travel. I don't know if I really belong here. And I'm sitting there, and it felt okay. And the Reverend at the time says, I want to give you a quote by a man named Mayor Baba. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Okay, thank you, Baba. I'm in the right place. And boy, was I in the right place. And he said that Baba was still alive, and he started to give a lot of misinformation about Baba. And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. So on the way out, not a traditional service, but he was a traditional reverend. He's shaking everybody's hands. And I said, I just want to share with you that Mayor Baba dropped his physical body, passed in 1969. He said, no, he did not, and you know nothing about it. And I said, okay, be quiet. Just be quiet. This is okay. This is fine. I go home. I look up Silent Unity, gorgeous literature. I go crazy. They talked about not universal mind, but divine mind. And the founders, Charles and Beryl Fillmore, were such sweet, gorgeous spiritual people, all in line with what Baba talks about. So I started to continue to go to Unity, and I got involved in Christian metaphysics and getting books. I want to mention a few of them because it changed my life, because I started to apply what Darwin's saying, and that is be more aware and conscious of your programming. You can basically direct it. And if you remember Baba, then Baba's going to just be there and take over, really. You know, Baba wants me to suffer. Well, yeah, he really doesn't, but you don't know that until you say Baba's name, and then you see how things kind of work out. But there's a couple books that bring to light some of the awareness, and I'm sure Darwin was familiar with them. One of them is called The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard, and he talks a lot about being conscious of everything, so that you're not being programmed by your environment, but you're changing what you want to. You're being more proactive and using divine mind and universal mind and God to run your affairs for you. The other book I wanted to mention was a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. He was a reverend. He wrote a lot of beautiful books, not just that one. A lot of prayer books. Very lovely, lovely man, Joseph Murphy. But it's a famous book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and it details a lot of what Darwin's mentioning here. And the other book is a book called Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Berhart. And she was a student of Thomas Troward, who was a metaphysical writer. And her story is kind of interesting, but she also talks about being aware and reprogramming yourself in an acute kind of loving way, your invisible power. So I just wanted to mention those three. If you're interested, I'll write it out in the chat.
Yeah, do that. Yeah.
Programming in the Unseen. I really wanted to read this, actually. Thank you. We are constantly working with causes and programming at the archetypal level. We create a prototype in the unseen based on a belief or thought. Then it is manifested, and the result we experience reinforces our original belief or thought and keeps it alive. In psychological terms, our subconscious is open to suggestions and will respond. In archetypal programming, the response is that the universal mind, working through our subconscious, goes ahead and manifests the suggestion as if it were a command. It does so without questioning whether it is accurate or wise, or whether or not it can even be done. The universal mind and our subconscious are not conditioned or bound by precedent or by gross obstacles. Of course, this can work in our favor. The truth is that we are unlimited spirit and are one with God. So if we take our stand on the truth, this will manifest and become our experience. The universal mind is creative, not destructive. It does not have discriminatory faculties. It responds to suggestions automatically. It has no personality, no opinion, and no axe to grind. Yet, as an aspect of God, it has a sense of the personal and is completely benign, which is why we can feel the personal presence of God, or the infinite, and why we can have companionship with him and feel his guidance. Okay. Can I read the next paragraph?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Mayor Baba has said that the God-man, the avatar, is more powerful than God the infinite. Being consciously one with the universal mind, he can and does respond to people with all the infallible, invincible, absolutely dependable attributes of the universal mind, but with full personal consciousness of us and the creation. Wow.
Yeah. What does that mean to you?
Okay, what it means, well, I went ahead during this week because of things that I'm processing. So what all this is meaning to me is that I can choose what window I look out of. I'm not a victim. I can choose, okay, I can choose this window and I can feel sad, or I can choose this window, which is actually based in the truth, and just kind of what Darwin's telling us is we have control over what window we want to look out of. So it can be a negative window, it can be a sad window, it can be, back in, old tapes, it can be that. Or what he's talking about is it doesn't have to be. We can look through another window, and that window is Baba. And Baba is here to help us take care of everything. And I guess, and just, how powerful Baba is, how personal he is, even though, this is kind of, he's talking about the universal mind and all that, but he really, really skillfully brings it back into the personal. Baba's really personal with us, and he takes care of us, and we can depend on him for that. So when that's our focus, it's like he says, when that's our focus, that's where we want to be and who we want to be like. I guess that's what that means to me.
Beautiful. No, beautifully expressed. Yeah. Adi used to say that Baba was greater than God. It's the same way that Darwin does, because Baba can get in there and work personally with each of us and not just be a sun that's shining kind of impersonally on us. He is intimately involved with each of our lives. And even a perfect master can't do that as universally as Baba can. There was one person who was became God realized, and he was a poet, and he decided after realization to contemplate the magnitude and stature of Prophet Muhammad. This is a perfect master trying to fathom Prophet Muhammad. And he said, with all of the fathoming that he did, all that he could get is just, all that he could fathom was just a tent stake on outside of Muhammad's tent in the desert. That's as close as he could get to the magnitude and stature of Prophet Muhammad. Meaning that Baba in creation is like nobody else, you might say.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I've never heard this framing of Baba before in comparison to the universal God. It's a beautiful framing, and what I love about it is it only helps me understand even more the saying of Baba's. You don't know how lucky you are to be here with me, or I'm paraphrasing that saying, but whatever that line is, you don't know how lucky you are. That really helps me understand that even more, because this isn't just my relationship with Baba, and our relationship with Baba isn't just an ordinary relationship with God. It's much more than that, a very personal, very deep, very direct relationship to God that that's easy to misunderstand, I suppose. So I just wanted to bring that in there. I really appreciated this perspective. It's very helpful.
Yeah, good, Jake. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. His purpose with us and for us is to make us happy, but also to free us from the illusions and delusions of the creation. However, we limit him. In 1954, during a darshan program when thousands of people from all classes were passing before Baba to have his darshan, he turned to us Western men and said, "I love them all, big and small, high and low, rich and poor, all. I am whatever anyone takes me to be." When he said this, I felt that he was speaking from the state of the infinite being behind his form as the universal mind, or God the infinite. There were many other occasions when he said similar things, such as, "To each one I appear to be what he thinks I am," and "I am in you, and the universal mind can give anything to anyone at any time. Just follow these instructions. Love me. Do not deceive. Do not commit misdeeds. I will be with you." These statements have tremendous implications. If we even begin to understand, we realize how important our relationship with the Master is. By thinking of Baba as God the infinite or universal mind, we are plugging into both the personal and impersonal avenues of power, energy, truth, and reality. This is what the Avatar and the Perfect Masters are. Being conscious of us and our sanskaric dilemmas, they are transformers who are able to transform at our personal level. As conscious universal mind, Baba responds to our every whim. He also responds to what we think and feel about him. This is because he is a reflection of our image of him. If we project a limited view on him, then we are limiting him in how he can work with us. For example, if we think of him as a judge, then our subjective, self-created experience will be that of being judged by him. In other words, if we take him to be a judge, he becomes that for us. If we take him to be our master and friend, that is who he is for us. Our relationship with him will be in accordance with whatever we attribute to him and however we relate to him. Whether we program with regard to God the Infinite or Meher Baba, it comes out the same. But I feel that there is a definite advantage if we go through Baba. I think it helps us to experience the personal aspect of God more, particularly since this is why Baba took incarnation.
Beautiful.
Jake, you have your hand up.
Katie and I were just wondering, with this focus on the importance of the avatar specifically, as opposed to just the universal mind or God, why in the O Pavarti prayer? Sorry, why in the beloved God prayer? Why is the emphasis on God and not Baba? If anybody has an answer to that question.
The one, beloved God, help us all to love you more and more and more, and still yet more till we become worthy of union with you, and help us all to hold fast to Baba's Dhamman till the very end. Anyone got a good answer for that?
I had a comment, not an answer to his question.
Go ahead. We'll get back to Jake. Go ahead.
I went to Catholic grammar school and Catholic high school, and I challenged my religion constantly. I wanted answers, and I never got them. The answers that the priests, the nuns, and the brothers gave me was, you have to believe. And I said, fine, tell me why I have to believe. And they didn't have an answer. And they always taught us that we should fear God and fear Jesus, which I did. I was afraid, and they were, both of them were way out there. So I didn't deal with them because I didn't want them to notice me, It's such a different relationship I have with Baba. I have the bust of Baba in my sunroom. And I go in there several times a day and have a conversation with him, which to me is amazing. I could never do that when I was in Catholic school. And he seems to answer all my questions. And all the questions I've ever had in the Catholic religion, he's answered, which really just blows my mind. That's it.
Beautiful. Great, Paul. I know it's interesting, but a lot of the Catholicism, Darwin talks about these archetypes that people buy into and then become programmed. And one of them basically where Darwin quotes, if you take Baba's words, if you take God to be a judge, he will judge you. And they seem to have bought into that paradigm. And so you're always kind of trying to, there's a kind of a disapproving God. And look at what consequences that has in your life with Baba in your life with God, if he happens to be a disapproving God. So it's uprooting a lot of that programming is what Darwin's talking about. And Baba has obviously done that for you so beautifully.
And Jack, you had your hand up?
Yeah, my experience parallels Paul's down to the very words he said. In response to the question as to mentioning God in the Master's Prayer, my feeling has always been that once that this manifestation is complete as far as Baba is concerned, it enables those who are on the fringe or about to whatever, it draws them in. And if one is an atheist or even an agnostic, he or she could not fail to accept what Baba has said as far as the prayer of repentance and the beloved God. It's sort of like all in one, me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's for the way he presents it. And most Christians especially are used to having a kind of Our Father prayer. And this certainly complements that.
Yeah, beautiful.
I was going to say to Jake that for me, my response was not anything except for my heart, which was Baba is God. So there's no, I know that he would sometimes refer to himself, well, when he had the prayers, and he would say them with the mandali to God. I do not know what he was doing there, whatever reason he did that. But the other thing I wanted to say was in the prayer, the way that I first heard it was, beloved God, help us all to love you more and more and more and more and still yet more till we are no more. Not the worthy of union with and worthy of union with you came next, but there was that till we are no more. And I always like to say that. Yeah. So I don't know if other people heard it that way, but I know in the early days I did. So I just wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, Erich used to say that that's what Baba really meant, until you are no more. But Baba said, but that's a little too stark. You want to be there and pick up your union with God. You don't want to disappear. So I mean, it's a little bit. But he told Baba that why don't you just say,
right? It was from Erich.
Until we are no more. But Baba kept it as he had done.
That makes sense because it was from Erich. I heard it, and really, it's not till we are no more until we make that final transition to realize that we never were. So I'm glad to clear that up.
Yeah.
Well, I never questioned the beloved God prayer because I just thought Baba was saying he is God, and he was just referring himself to himself in the third person at the end. So it never bothered me, but just to comment on people who were talking about fearing God, and I read this book about the mistranslation of the Bible, and a lot of words in the original Aramaic have been mistranslated. Like when they said the Lord thy God is a jealous God. It's not jealous in Aramaic, it's zealous with a Z. And then there was the book, the Year of Living Biblically, where this guy tried to follow all the dictates he read about in the Bible. Like he went and he smeared pig blood on his door because it says that in the Bible. And then he went to the park and stoned magicians because it said that in the Bible. I mean, it's really funny, the things that he tried to do that were in the Bible. So I'm maybe a little bit off track here, but I did enjoy that book.
Yeah. Yeah, Baba did say that much of that was attributed to Jesus in the Bible was not really his words. I mean, Baba himself said that. And when you read it, you can tell that some of this stuff is not universal and most likely did not come from Jesus. But anyway, so that's a good way you put it, though, about the beloved God prayer. Anyone else?
I have a question, and I'm way before Baba. I went to Unity and Science of Mind and all that stuff, so I'm familiar with all that thought. But how does communion with the universal mind and working with the subconscious, how does that juxtapose with Baba telling us not to ask for anything, not to ask him for anything? I mean, if we're wanting to manifest stuff and think of ourselves a certain way in order to manifest, how does that? I've never quite been able to figure out how that works with Baba telling us to not ask him for anything. That's all. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, Baba has said, "He who asks for my love will be my chosen one." So all the different aspects of love, like the divine qualities, are just aspects of love. He has given his assent to doing that, but not necessarily. He might, if you want to be Napoleon, he may not make that happen for you.
Paula Roper?
Okay, well, back to the prayers. My thought was in the Beloved God prayer, I think Baba answers it himself because he is God, and he says, "Hold fast to my Daman." It's not different. It's just harder for us to grasp God in the beyond states, Daman. So he took a form so that we can grab hold of him. So it's not different. It is a little confusing though, because it's like Baba prayed to God himself at times, and I'm not going to pretend to understand what he was doing, but it's all him. And the other thing was, like in the Master's Prayer, this is what I've found for myself in the Master's Prayer. It's like, if you kind of want to get to know God, it's like Baba kind of has it all right there. And the whole first part to me is like God in the beyond state, or God in the beyond state. But then when it gets to he is the creator, he goes into his attributes, and I feel like that whole part of the prayer goes into Baba as the avatar. He's the avatar and his attributes and stuff, and it's a way to get to know him. I don't know if that helps or not, but it's just something I've thought about. So
Yeah.
so that's kind of it.
Yeah, no, beautiful. I know that Baba sometimes plays, like especially in the new life, he plays our part, and he would pray to God as a seeker or lover of God. And sometimes Baba did that throughout his life, where he would, even though he's God himself, even as Jesus, he kind of was praying to the Father, even though they're one and the same. And I don't know, he has a habit of doing that type of thing. But one thing that Eric said, one day we were in Mandalay Hall, and I've shared this before, but he asked, what does it mean to hold on to Baba's Daman? And people gave all sorts of different answers. And in the end, Eric said, to hold on to his form, to hold on to his personality, basically the personalized form of God that he embodies. That's holding on to his Daman. And of course, we didn't get anywhere close to that with our answers. But so that even though, and then through the holding on to his Daman, through his form, is the doorway to the infinite.
Thank you. I wanted to respond to the lady, but there are two stories, and the trail went a little cold with these. One of them had to do with suffering, the other side of suffering. And the other one was from a theme from last week, but by the time I got the story, it had gotten cold. Would it be all right if I share the two stories and made a comment? That'd be cool.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, one thing about what the lady asked about asking Baba to give us our desires. Sometimes I think that before we're caught in his net, Baba would love us to ask him for what we want. But then when we're caught in his net, I would think it's like, okay, now since you're with me, let me just tell you what I want, and to go more in his direction. I wish I could state that better.
That's good. No.
All right, thank you. Now, in chronological order, what was mentioned last week, I see reflected in the story, Make the Effort. And it's kind of long. This is from The Real Treasure 2 from Rustam Falahati. And let me see, okay. It says, in my life with the Mandali, I have often seen them encourage us to make greater efforts in whatever tasks we undertake, and then to leave the results to Baba. On many occasions, Baba lovers would approach Erich with a problem they were facing, and after narrating the same, they would conclude, I leave it all to Baba. Yet it was often very clear that the person was not making any effort, and Erich would jokingly reprimand them, saying, do not leave the effort part to Baba. Most people do that when they say, I have left it to Baba. Make the effort, do your best as if you were doing it for him, and then leave it all to Baba. Erich narrated the following story to further help us understand that effort and intentions were necessary before we could leave it to the divine will or resign to the divine will. I hope that was clear. There was an owner of a restaurant who was once chatting with his friend. The owner was seated behind the cash register and his friend was standing by his side. They were chatting when a beggar appeared, begging for alms. The owner did not give anything to the beggar, and the beggar left empty-handed. The owner turned to his friend and said, it was divine will that the beggar not receive any money from me. Divine will prevented me from giving him any alms. The friend disagreed, but the owner persisted. Divine will is all powerful and could have found ways of inspiring me to carry out the act of giving alms through a noble thought or thoughts of piety or just plain generous thought. But as I was not inspired by any of these thoughts, I look at it as divine will that the beggar did not receive any alms from me. The friend replied, you did not feel inspired because you had no intention to give. Also, there was no effort on your part to give alms. You did not even make an effort to open your cash drawer to give. It was lack of effort and not divine will that the beggar did not receive alms. The friend continued, if you had opened the cash drawer and tried to reach for the money with the intention of giving, and at that moment, if you were to get in a paralytic stroke with paralyses, which paralyzes your hand and prevents you from giving it, then it would be divine will, for the intention and effort were genuinely there. Erich concluded, and I have this starred galore and bracketed like crazy. Erich concluded, that's how it is. We have to make a genuine effort and with the intent of solving the problem. We have to make a genuine effort and with the intent of solving the problem, do it as if we were doing it for Baba and then leave the results to him. Erich cautioned again, do not leave the effort part to Baba. That is just fooling yourself because your heart wants results from Baba without making the effort. In fact, it is the other way around. Make the effort and leave the results to Baba. All right. It has a second part to the story. It says, all right. It says, a pilgrim said to Erich, Baba has said that if you take one step towards him, he will take 10 steps toward you. Considering how small our steps are, they are insignificant and do not matter in comparison to the giant steps of Baba. So even if I did not take my step, Baba's 10 steps toward me should make a world of difference to make life and make me feel his presence. But I don't find that happening. Why is that? Promptly Erich replied, unless you take the first step towards him, he will not take 10 steps toward you. No matter how small your steps are, the intention, the longing, and the effort in that one step which you took towards him forces him to respond by taking 10 steps towards you. Your one step towards him is a reflection of your longing for him in your heart. He responds to that longing. Longing for union drives you to create effort, and effort invites his grace. All right, I want to read that a little different, but that's it.
No, good, very good stories, and
All
it
right.
very kind of gives a beautiful context to what's happening here. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. I was going to say that there's one more. It's kind of a cute but ominous one. Is there time, or shall I pass? It's pretty small.
Yeah, go ahead. Well,
right.
I think we're only a few people are asleep, you know. No, go ahead.
Oh, all right. It says The Other Side of Suffering by Erich. Mayor Bob often told us that suffering brought the individual closer to him. One day we were all sitting in the Mondley Hall enjoying a music program in progress with a large number of people in attendance, and in the gathering was a woman holding a small baby in her arms. Suddenly at one point the baby started to cry, tugging at the mother in its efforts to be free. This greatly embarrassed the mother, who kept her hold. But the more she tried to restrain and silence the child, the louder its cries became. Bob, of course, noticed the mother's discomfiture and asked that the baby be allowed to crawl on the floor. And as soon as this was done, the cries were silenced and the baby gurgled happily in its newfound freedom. After the music stopped, Baba began to give a discourse, and everyone's attention was focused on what he was saying. Halfway through the discourse, Baba stopped and pointed to the baby, who was close to falling over the threshold of the door, signaled that the mother should retrieve it and let it crawl near her. Baba then interrupted his discourse to explain the following in these words. When I say my nazar, or grace, is on you, it means I allow you to play with your own little games, just as you saw this baby do. And when you are about to fall and hurt yourself, I pick you up and put you in a safe place and let you continue with your game. However, when I pick you up, like the baby, you throw a tantrum. For my act of picking you up appears in a form of suffering for you. But I know what is good for you. It is only your suffering that will bring you close to me. And when you suffer, know that my nazar is on you. Okay, the end.
Yeah, thanks. These are great, wonderful books by a guy named Rustam Falahati. Yeah.
Hey, J Bob, everybody.
J Bob.
I just had recently read a little excerpt from this lovely book, the adult Sahabis in India, from Mani, talking about time that she had with Baba in response. I don't know who was that asked the question about asking things of Baba. Before that, I don't know the quote, but I'm sure someone knows the exact quote. But the gist of the quote before I read this little tiny excerpt is, you know, if you come to me wanting this and that and the other thing, anything other than love, then, you know, don't come at all. But I think that is in reference to, you know, coming to Baba in the very first place for what it is that you want. If it's not to love him, then, well. But this little snippet, I'll rather than read the whole thing, just give you the storyline is that Mani is reading to Baba, and she's reading Nero Wolfe, a detective novel, to Baba, who's sitting with his eyes closed, completely relaxed. And she says that Baba had already stated that his work was 100% complete, but his health was very poor. And, you know, talking about blah, blah, blah. And then Mani would say, but Baba, you were asleep. You're not listening. No, Mani stopped speaking. And then Baba gestured, why did you stop? And Mani said, Baba, you were asleep. You were not listening. Baba gestured, I was listening. Go on reading. And went on doing so. Then his breathing became deep and regular. All outward appearances, he had fallen asleep. Mani read on, but Baba continued to sleep soundly. And Mani was just about to reach a point in the book where she knew it was one of Baba's favorite passages. This was the second time she was reading it to him. But not wanting Baba to miss that section, Mani stopped again and said, and no sooner did she stop, Baba gestured, why did you stop? I thought you were asleep, Baba. I didn't want you to miss anything. And Baba gestured, I was listening. Tell me then. What did I say, Mani asked. And to her amazement, Baba was able to recount everything that happened while she had been sure that he was asleep. I was sure you were asleep, Mani insisted. Remember, Baba gestured, even when my eyes are closed and I appear to be asleep, I'm still listening. So here's the part that relates to asking Baba for things. Mani would then turn to those around her and add, it's like that even now. He may appear to you to be a sleeping God, but he is listening. So call out to him from your heart. Repeat his name. Talk with him. You can begin by sharing all of your problems. Ask him for everything, even small things. It's a good way of remembering him. It doesn't matter whether or not he gives you what you ask for. Leave that to him. Anything and everything that happens to you throughout the day, share it with him. Slowly, by doing this, a time will come when you will remember him constantly and your dependence on him will be complete. He will then take over your life. He will provide you even before the needs arises and answer even before you ask.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. That was good.
Yeah, so I was moved to read that simply because I myself have struggled. I can't really bring myself to ask Baba anything because every time I get near the end of the sentence, I go, okay, Baba, whatever pleases you. But, I'm a businessman and I have to plan and, make plans and make decisions constantly. So my strategy has been, I do my level best, including telling myself that I'm the best businessman in the world per Baba's permission.
Yeah.
And then I just, say, okay, Bob, this is my best thinking. Whatever you say goes. If you have a different plan, let me know. But unless otherwise directed, I'm moving ahead. What do you think? And I pretty much do that all day long.
Yeah.
Jay Baba.
Good. Yeah, Bao used to say, ask Baba for anything, just don't expect that he's going to give it to you. But don't hesitate to ask.
Everybody kind of answered it. I just was thinking with Ritag that I was looking at intention and effort, and that when you ask Baba for anything, I got comfortable with it because I worked on myself around my intention being to remember him more. So if I was troubled by something and it was preventing me from thinking about Baba or being with him, then it was right to do. So it always worked out that way. But thanks everybody for clarifying a lot more of that for me.
Good. Yeah.
I remember Arnavaz said to me quite a long time back, when you want something or need something from Baba, do you think he doesn't know already that you want X, Y, or Z? So don't be hypocritical and pretend you don't want X, Y, or Z. Tell him honestly from your heart what you want, but then end with, if it be your will. So that was always useful to me at that time.
Yeah, lovely.
And Thea.
In a similar vein, I've had the impression that there is the idea of giving stuff to Baba and giving it up, but it's very, very hard to give it to Baba if you don't acknowledge that you have it, and that includes your desires. So I often think about when I'm telling Baba when I want this or that is me handing that, both acknowledging that I have that desire and handing it over at the same time.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay, first cause. It is up to us what the master can and will do for us. Therefore, we would be wise to take charge of our programming and switch our focus from the level of outer conditions to the master himself, the source of everything. We dote so much on our self-created environment and spend a lot of time reacting to it, not realizing that the world, even the world of thought and feeling, is an effect, not first cause. Meher Baba says that we are the producers of all phenomena. We have projected everything out of us. What Baba is telling us is that we are creating our own world, our emotional world, as well as the physical world and our mental world, and that we can design it and make it any way we would like. In 1954 in India, Baba quoted one of his disciples, Baidul, as saying, quote, "We produce everything, and like fools, we become the slave of what we are the masters of." End quote. If we regard the illusory world instead of God or the master as first cause and base our reactions on this false premise, we have created a second degree of falseness. We get caught up in a continuous chain reaction, or an event or a cause results in a reaction or an effect, which becomes the cause of the next reaction, and so on. As this chain of cause and effect continues, we go further and further into the falseness. We find that we are continually dealing with contingencies all the time. We're constantly postulating that certain conditions cannot come about unless certain other conditions are met. Yeah, I find it incredible, just the level of responsibility that we have for our own world. And once again, I know I've mentioned this in past weeks. I mean, there's so much out there about, kind of that passive surrendering to God. And it's not that the surrendering isn't something that we have to do, but it's such an interesting interplay of how much we have to take control and responsibility for what's going on in our world, yet still surrendering to God's will and to God's kind of flow of the unfolding of life. And it just blows my mind, the coexistence of those two things, what an active role we take in this, yet there's a total surrender that has to happen. And I think especially since coming to these meetings, it's really just, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, you realize how much freedom you have to take charge of the conditions in your life, and that this isn't something that you kind of, sit through or just surrender to what's going on and, oh, this is God's will, this is going on, this must be what he wants for me, that I'm in this situation or that. And yeah, I don't know if anybody has anything to add to that about just striking that incredible balance between really taking a strong stand for taking charge of our life, yet being completely surrendered to the will of Baba. Thank you.
Very well put. Very well. Anyone to respond?
Yeah, a bunch of hands went up.
I've thought about the readings that we're doing today, and the last part of what Anthony read and said to me means there's tremendous amount of reactivity throughout the day in myself and just about everybody I know. I have an old Buddhist friend, he's in his 80s, and he said to me, he has plenty of reactivity too, and he's been working that a long time. So I guess what I'm sitting with, which maybe many of us are, all of us possibly, it seems as if this, I'll just say, invisible ball of karma is slipping down the slope. And my intention is to put it on a level road and sort of neutralize what seems to be really so difficult. I look at my own life in terms of profession, certain obstacles to advance, relationships falling into marriage, coming close to death many, many times, physical death, all kinds of situations that, and between professional, relationshipal, physical assaults under different circumstances, motorcycle accidents, all of a sudden, it's like, how do you stay with equanimity? So I don't have anything other than to say, I'm really listening to, as people talk from their heart and their experience, to sort of, and I know there's no magic wand perception, but I wish there was. It's fantasy. I'm just grappling with this. And I appreciate this opportunity to read and hear and be with Baba, but wow, this is like literally walking on the blade of a samurai sword and not cutting your tootsies or your toes or whatever that is that you cut on it. I'm not able to do. Anyway, thank you. I was not going to speak. I kind of bowed out, but then you called on me. So, hey, that's my...
Good. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. And this is well worth looking at, you know, our reactivity and how to get out of the reactivity, which is, you know, considering that outer conditions are real, and that's why we react so strongly to them. Rather than, like Darwin says, going to the first cause, going back to Baba first, and then looking at the world, which is a different way of approaching it. Go ahead. Any other hands there, Angela?
A number of hands. Leitka, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. For me, I've learned with Baba that you can't surrender what you haven't owned, what you're unconscious of. You have to become conscious and you have to own it. And that's where the work is for me. And then once I've done that, to give it to him is effortless. But I have to know what I'm giving. And so sometimes I give the same thing, it would appear the same thing over and over and over and over again. But it's really not the same thing. It's the same, perhaps tangent or sanskara, but my understanding of it and ownership of it is deeper. So as that deepens, then I give it and give it and give it, like the plates that Jeff talks of at the, you know, when you grab a plate and another one comes up at the, I'm forgetting the name of those places we used to go with Darwin, Jeff. Not cafeteria, but anyway.
Ryan's.
and yeah, a bunch. He loved them. But what I think of is involution and evolution. In involution, we're just, you know, our job is to just experience, to rack up those samskaras. And then in involution, it's like time, this is how I interpret it anyway, simple. It's time to look at all that and unravel it and kind of go, oh, all right, and go through that with Baba back to him. But, and that's where the surrender comes in more for me, I think, with, I don't know that one can surrender when you're winding, but anyway, that's my insight.
Yeah. Thank you, Leica. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yes, this is Clarice. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I'm having a lot of pleasure, as we do sometimes when we learn, oh, this has answered one of my deep questions. And that is when you're talking about that we create our world and we create our illusion essentially. And it's consistent with quantum physics that is being, I could list dozens of books. I'm in a spiritual business school and community that I've been in for about 8 years. And there's a lot of, basically you create your own economy, how you think. And there's so much new age stuff around this. Happy pocket full of money, think and grow rich. There's all this stuff about basically the way you think, and your mindset literally creates your reality. If I think, all guys are abusive, I'm going to attract abusive guys. I have not ever been able to reconcile this with Baba, and also asking for things. So I'd really appreciate this conversation, because there's part of me that knows that when I've really done some good mindset work, things really happen. And I also have experienced Baba answering, I say it's like he answered an unspoken prayer. I don't know if any of you have experienced that. I would expect that a lot of you have experienced that, but I love those are so sweet, where something's manifested that I kind of thought about maybe briefly, but it's like, boom, Baba gave it, or it showed up or whatever. There was a sweet Baba answer to it. I'm not saying things necessarily. I can't give an example right now. But that whole thing about, I really appreciated that about asking, or just the way you're all putting this, because I know, actually he actually wrote back to me in a meditation, and he said, put me first, and then everything you want will be added on to you. But it's like, put me first, like, make sure you love me. And of course, I think probably in that surrender, it's like, the illusion is that I want or I need this or that or blah, blah, blah. He was clear. I now just remembered that I have that somewhere where he wrote that back, I've got that. I was writing it, and like, this was the answer that came from Baba. It's like, you got to put me first. And like whatever your desires are, you got to put me first. And then basically Baba will give me what he wants to give me. And then there's that juxtaposition with, well, we got to suffer to, and I know when I came to the center, and I've heard Jeff and you all talking about people coming broken. I was broken, but my heart was broken open, and that allowed Baba in, or maybe he set that all up, or blah, blah, blah. And, and a lot of people come to the center in pain, which was shared with me, like, you're not alone, and so, and then just the last thing I want to say is that whole thing about we can get caught in our illusion, and then that cycles, like, oh, well, I manifested this, well, I want this, and I want that, and I want this, and the conditions were this for this, and I think the answer still is seeking him first. But I don't know. It just, for me, it all just kind of meshed together, and I love that when something that was confusing to me was like, oh, okay, this is how this all fits together in Baba's world. Thank you.
Yeah, well said. Just to interject here, Darwin was like so, this is how, as I experienced him, he was so inwardly focused on Baba that the outer conditions just seemed to unfold smoothly for the most part. I mean, knowing him for so many years, there's the line from the Bible, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things will be added unto you. And he just he was in the real with Baba within, and the unreal outside kind of unfolded in a pleasing way. Even if it went a way he didn't want, he got a flat tire or he was caught in the rain, it didn't it didn't rock his boat. He stayed very calm on the inside.
So, you mentioned, Anthony, feeling that surrender, or something about surrender being a passive state. And that's what I really wanted to address, which is, I think surrender has to be an active state, and that it becomes active as we rein in our minds and start to understand when that mind has galloped off in some direction. And once we've done that, then we can want what Baba wants, and that is how we surrender. So I may not know exactly what Baba wants, but at least if I can say, okay, Baba, whatever you want, that's what I want. You know, when I see that my mind has galloped off. And so that would be the surrender, really. Surrendering some attachment, which I may or may not be aware of, but at least I may see something's gone wrong here and I've forgotten to try to want what Baba wants. So.
Yeah. Great examples.
And Gabriella?
Yes, I was thinking about this first cause thing, and that it's very confusing, I agree. But the more I go, it's like follow to the source, like, okay, I just broke my leg. Oh my God, I'm a victim to something out there, broke my leg. How did it happen? It happened because of my ego, because I was reaching too far for something. And in my mind, I had a split second that said, you should get some help on this. And I said, nope, gonna do it myself. And that is not the first time in my life. So this is my particular knot that I am given to unravel over and over again until I get it. And it's not about the thing that actually happens. I have to keep going back and going back and going back, and it's going to come from some part of my ego, is my thought. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep going back over the same stuff. I have.
Yeah. Well, maybe it gets a little different sometimes.
It does. Gets better.
Not exactly the same each time. You've made an inch of progress. And also how Baba, once you've done, and once you become aware of it too, and own it and give it back to him, how he gives you such gifts to deal with the problems. He helps. Like he always said, you know, that whole thing about Baba can't save you from your karma, but he can make it as little of an effect as possible. And that's the difference of being with the avatar and not being with the avatar.
Yeah, beautiful.
Paula Roper?
Okay, the part that caught my attention was, well, Baba's first cause. He's first cause of everything. And then resting in first cause requires full faith. So I'm looking at, I can rest in him, but with full faith. And that's something I'm noticing lately is trusting him and having faith in my own inner experiences with him, that they're true, and holding on to that. So it's like this thing about full faith. I mean, we have it's like being in a whirlpool, you know, sanskaras and all that stuff. It's like being in a whirlpool. And I guess the image I got was resting in Baba in first cause. That's a very nice place to be. And it's just a very nice place to be. And all the circumstances in our lives are imaginary, and they do change. But first cause, Baba doesn't change. So we can, in full faith, rest in him and rely on him. And we are so lucky to be able to do that.
Beautiful. Yeah. is kind of trying to find the moving eye of the hurricane. As long as you stay in the moving eye of the hurricane, it's pretty peaceful. I mean, it's calm and everything. You're not just buffeted by the winds and rain.
I just want to share with you, but I told you that I was moving and I've been wanting to move for a long time. So I kind of was keeping a diary because I've lived in the city all my life, you know. Wait, hold on a second. Okay. Anyway, I've always lived in the city. So last night I've been keeping up. Can you hear me? You okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so I just been writing. So I was reading what I wrote last night, and I'll read a little to you because it's really a real life experience that just happened to me. I said, completed my move to the next reel of my film. 29 years, 30 years, I've moved to a new place, which is exactly what I wanted to be, but never have until now. Everything is able to become easy. What has been so difficult, it must have been draining. Sunday, a day well spent, walked halfway around the lake. The reflection of the trees and surroundings in the lake are beyond, I put in quote, imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. The layers upon layers of flora and fauna, the ripple and the cool breeze. There are two groups of ducks. I saw the male once, mostly are female. Saw a chipmunk scurrying on its way outside the door. I watched the moon and stars tonight and remembered when I was a child, how I came out, in a rowboat with my dad because he liked fishing. And we went on many trips to different places. And I played all the time and I loved my dad, but he passed away, but that's personal. Anyway, that destroyed me. But anyway, first cause and effect, I just wrote this after you started talking. I said, everything we create our own world. And I said, I found my favorite space that I have seen in my mind's eye come full circle from day to night and night to day. 30 years living in the same space in the city, always longing to be in nature. I finally was pushed out into the universe, alternate universe. And I'm now living in a space at the edge of the forest, so I'm so happy. So it's really true, you know, can't tell you it happened to me. It's like, it's too good to be true, and it's true.
Good.
I'm so happy, yeah, but it's been hard moving. Yeah, moving after 30 years by yourself during a pandemic, but I had some help, but oh my God. It's like a treasure. Bob is a treasure.
Good.
God's a treasure, yeah.
Wunderbar.
Jay Baba. And Barbara?
Not sure. Anyway, I'm all over the place thinking about these things, but when I first came to Baba, I remember going to India. This is just in regard to, I remember going out to India and being with the Mandali, and my instinct sometimes with them would be to put them on a pedestal because they were close to God, and so I would actually create. I found what happened was if I did that, I created this huge separation, and I missed out on everything because everything was about this personal one-to-one relationship and feeling whatever little things transpired between us. And then much more recently with Baba, it took me a long time. I used to go into Samadhi maybe 10 years ago. I mean, that was back in the 80s with the Mandali. I just remember that I kept being reminded that I couldn't make this distance. I couldn't create this distance between them and me, or I'd miss out on all the really good stuff. And then I found that also in Samadhi, I used to go in there and I was afraid to think certain things. I was afraid I had all this like stuff. I thought, oh, this is mine and that's Baba. And then I one year I just realized I had to drop all that because the same thing was happening. There was this distance. And I was missing out on Baba, and I really, he's God. I can trust that there's nothing in me that he can't handle. And I hope I'm not rambling too much, but it does have to do with giving him things and asking for things. I still can't really ask for things, although lately I've been asking for his will and asking for feedback from him a lot and not getting anything at all in response. So I've been just going forward, but I have been going to him all the time, and maybe that's the purpose of this whole adventure I've been on lately. And I'm so sorry if this was like a total ramble. A lot of people here.
No, what you said is beautiful, Barbara. Wow. Yeah. And even if you don't get any feedback from him, he adores the fact that you're going to him. Well, let me mention, after we have a moment of silence, if anybody wants to stay on, Stu Baker will lead us in a short heart-centered meditation. It's something beautiful if you would like to stay, and you know, it's bringing Baba's love in, and he has a very wonderful way of guiding us on that. And so let's have a few moments of silence, or more of a period of silence, okay?
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Thank you.
Let's just sit and relax for a little bit, and then in a short while, Stu, if anybody wants to be a part of this heart-centered meditation, you're more than welcome. We never did quite answer, get an answer for Jake's question, but we'll get there.
Yeah, well, both Katie and I appreciated hearing everyone's opinions and feedback. It was very helpful to just echo the different ways to view the meaning of using both God and Baba in the same prayer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think of it as like Baba looks down on this earth, not Baba, God looks down on this earth with this infinite knowledge, power, bliss, and everything. And he says, well, those people need some help. So he takes on a form as Baba, but he doesn't relinquish his infinite knowledge, power, and bliss and universal consciousness. You know, he comes down and it takes a form for our sake. So there really isn't any difference between Baba and God, if you know what I mean. It's just a form that he takes, so that because we relate very much to the personal. The personal is one of the best doorways to the universal experience, and he plays that part. So, you know, whether you're doing his Dhamman or seeking union, they're all one and the same. Yeah. Any other I don't know if we're muted or what.
I just wonder, it's like Jeff.
Yeah.
Just, you know, what you just said, it got me thinking that, of course, God, infinite power, bliss, he doesn't use as the God-man. He has it. I mean, he could, but he's come here to live an exemplary life as a human being, as an example for human beings. So although he has full access to those things, he chooses not to use them as the God-man, whereas God has, you know, access to all. So I was just thinking of that in relation to thinking about this question.
Yeah, excellent. I agree.
When Baba said the prayers with all the mandalay, it's like he's inside you, because you're a part of God, and when you say the prayers, he's inside you. So he said those prayers with the mandalay on purpose. And I had difficulty with it because it's ritual, but it's not, because God, he does what he's the planner, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's done spontaneously. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say too, just to add to what you had mentioned, earlier, I think, when about Meher Baba or God coming to earth as Baba. I think it's important to note too, or to realize perhaps that he appeared many times. He did that many times as Zoroaster, Ram, Krishna, the Buddha, Jesus, and minor advents as well. So anyway, same thing, although other people may be praying to Allah or follow the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, that too would be an appearance of God on earth.
Yeah.
Understanding from Meher Baba's teachings.
Yeah. I think each time we overdo it, like, I mean, this is just a feeling I have that as Baba, he's stressing God in human form. As Muhammad, he's stressing the formless aspect of God.
Mm-hmm.
As Jesus, he's stressing God in human form. As the Buddha, the formless. Because we overdo it each time. We make an idol of Baba, of the God-man, and so the formless is emphasized. But then the formless gets to be dry and people aren't getting anywhere, so he comes in form. I mean, this is just my own kind of view of things.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, but are you folks ready for, unless there are anything more to say, if you want to do this heart-centered meditation. Anything else any other comments?
Jeff, I have one comment on the God and Baba. I think in Master's Prayer and Repentance, Baba was really stressing the impersonal aspect of himself, which means God. And when he says without color, without expression, without form, all of those are really the impersonal aspects. Baba was very, very expressive, right? So without expression wouldn't make sense if we say, Baba, you are without expression. But for God, the infinite attributes, he's expressing all of those infinite attributes for God in the Master Prayer. But the personal aspect of God is Baba, and it's through him, it's much easier to see all the personal sides of him, like expressiveness or his grace in movements, and easy to love him via that. So I think that may be the reason that he was using God in one and Baba in another.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's. Hey, so shall we? we'll let Stu take us with Baba into the deeper part of ourselves.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. I'm getting notice that I have an unstable internet connection, so hopefully I'll stay stable enough.
Okay.
So, okay. Well, Jai Baba, everybody.
Jai Baba.
So I'll ask you to close your eyes and just start breathing gently and fully into your belly. And just let the world disappear for now with your breath. And picture your heart and your heart space, that energetic heart, the source of infinite love within. It's Baba's home within all of us. It's in us and beyond us, around us. And breathe into that infinite well of love. And keep breathing into this beautiful space with Meher Baba. And now we'll gently turn toward sending this infinite love to someone who you choose. Just let your heart guide you. Whoever you're drawn to send this love to, it could be a person, could be a group, could be someone you know is having some struggles, or maybe there's been conflict, and maybe you simply feel love and want to focus this love. So breathe into the image, get a good image of whoever it is. And see their heart and their heart space. And whoever it is, you're not trying to change them or bring about any particular happening. You're just choosing to be able to focus with intention Baba's infinite love toward their heart space. And breathe into the image you have, and now start to picture Baba's infinite love is flowing into their heart and their heart space without end. And you might have your own image. I tend to see a wonderful, warm, kind of liquid golden light just flowing in and filling the heart and filling the whole heart area to the bottom of the heart and the back of the heart. And filling to overflowing. And this is healing, soothing, giving, forgiving, infinite love. And see and feel this love just flow in a giving way. That's overflowing from their heart space and flowing all the way through them. And keep breathing into the flow of this infinite love from Baba. He gives us an infinite well of this love. We can never use it up. And just be aware if you see or feel anything with whoever you've chosen, whoever you're sharing the love with. And do you notice anything with their heart? And this love can do wonders. It's magical. So keep breathing into seeing and feeling this infinite love, this filling and soothing and cleaning their hearts and the heart space. And one more moment. And we'll say farewell for now to whoever you've chosen, but know that you can return here again and again. The well of infinite love is always there. And can always be shared with our focused intention. And now let's give thanks for this opportunity to share this love for love's sake. And gently bring your awareness back to your own heart and your heart space. And take note of what you see and feel in there. And now let's picture the infinite well of Baba's giving, healing love flowing into our own hearts. And healing and soothing and warming our hearts that He gives us. And breathe into the flow of that love. And see it filling our hearts in every corner. And gently overflowing and filling all of us, flowing through all of us. And keep breathing into this wonderful gift of love and feel it. And take note if anything takes place inside you with your heart, whatever you might see and feel. And we'll breathe into this flow of infinite love for another minute. And know that you can return here again and again to this focused flow of the infinite love for your own heart. And let's give thanks to Baba and his gift of his infinite, endless love that we can turn to in our own hearts. And we can drink deeply. And now let's gently bring awareness back to our surroundings, wherever we're sitting. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and just take a couple of moments to adjust being back. If anybody would like to unmute and share anything about what they experienced or any thoughts, we really welcome that.
Hmm.
Somehow I felt particularly peaceful, and I'm not a very good meditator, so it's very interesting because that is the kind of feeling and equipoise was what I wanted to send to the person I had in mind. So it was quite interesting that toward the end, where we were bringing ourselves back to ourselves, I felt this amazing, really, peace. And I also kept hearing ocean waves, and I don't know if somebody was playing them, but I really did hear waves, and that was one of the images I was using, waves of love coming in.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's great. Great, Elizabeth.
No one was playing wave sounds?
Those might have been your own waves.
Brain waves.
Maybe brain waves.
That's what they sound like. No, it really opened. I always find it really opens up my heart, you know, in an immense way. To follow that, you know, just to follow that, it really does. Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear, Jeff. And Elizabeth, what a wonderful image with the waves, with the love, too.
Right. I was feeling the waves actually coming toward me, and kind of, you know, that if you, at Myrtle Beach, you know how the waves come into the shore. That's what I had in my head. I mean, not just me, but for whomever, that ocean of love, you know, coming over and just, I don't know, embracing you, I guess.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful experience of realizing that while I was focusing on, you know, radiating Baba's love, it was wonderful to have this stark realization that, oh yes, this love that I'm radiating is me, and to let go of my sense of I'm trying to focus on something outside of myself, to let go and to ease into allowing that sense to be me, was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. I found that very expansive, and really helped me to bring my consciousness much more into my heart center. As a result, that was a really wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal to hear.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I usually, I usually have very little trouble getting through to the point where I'm like, feel like I'm sending out to other people. But today I basically just couldn't really focus on anybody but me. And it was a nice reminder, because I have been burning the candle at both ends for a while to care for a lot of people. And so it ended up being a nice, just having permission to just let it come into me for a little bit.
Right.
And sometimes that's just perfect for you. And that, I mean, your heart told you who needed it.
Yeah.
Marcia, do you have anything you care to share? Your hand is raised.
I didn't know it was raised. I was just texting to say goodbye. And I just wanted to say that I missed all of you and that I'm happy to be back. And I think the energy is changing all over. I think Baba's shift. Every person in my family has moved in the last couple of months. It's amazing. He's like moving families back. I think because I'm wondering, does this sound like crazy? what about like when all the people were killed, during the Holocaust and things like that, or different things, and maybe some babies got born and went to the wrong parents, and now he's shifting. It sounds crazy, right? I don't know. Anyway, don't put that out in the universe. Can you erase? Sometimes I don't say anything because I have these ideas, and I don't really want people to know that I'm out there crazy, right? But I just think he's doing his work and cleaning house, and if you don't want to wear a mask and you get sick, it's on you, So anyway, yeah, it's like the universe is moving along, and right now the sun's about to go down, and I'm going to get to see it set over a lake with fish. Oh my God, I'm so happy. So I'm sending a lot of really good prayers out here because I know that the avatar of the age is doing his work just as he was here when he was in the body. He's doing it now, and he doesn't need a body. He just comes in the body so that we can, relate to him on our level. But we can't even imagine. There's no, like you said, don't try to question me. It's just love me and obey me, and try to put out your good energy and not get into arguing with people. And just like you said, Jeff, a long time ago, if you see somebody and they don't hit you, then just keep walking through. And also, I admired what you said when you said that you have to come down to a different level so you're not upset by people, because they don't sometimes meet what you want them to be, but they're who they're supposed to be at this time. So anyway, you shouldn't have turned me on. Goodbye.
Yeah.
I love you all.
Yeah,
I'm
Martha.
just glad to know you're out there. But I'm so fearful of being out in the world and having people hear what I say, but I guess Bob is making me do it. So, okay, I'll go with it. And if I'm embarrassed, I'm embarrassing. So forgive me. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.
Jai Baba. Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Much love, Marcia.
Love you guys. Yeah.
I think I'll say good night too. Thank you very much. That was beautiful today, Stuart. Just a really lovely experience. Thank you, Jeff.
Oh, good.
Elizabeth.
Hey, Baba. See you next week.
Wonderful to see you. Yeah.
You
Jai
too.
Baba. Thank you,
Jai
Stuart.
Baba.
Thank
Jai
you.
Baba.
I'm signing off too. Thank you, everybody. It was lovely. Bye.
Bye. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Stuart, your meditation takes me away from all my troubles. I just like go out in space. It's like, wow, it's amazing. You have a real gift. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Jai Baba.
Go to First Cause. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a perfect reading for me today. I couldn't have, and I can't find my iPad, so I had to figure out how to do it on my iPhone. And every time I go to do something, I've been like, I moved last Monday, and I'm, it's just, I'm almost unpacked already, kind of. So I've been working hard. Just got lots of work to do out here. Yeah. Take care, everybody.
Yep. Jai Baba.
Okay, you too, Marcia.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Alan, are you there, Alan? Oh, I was talking to the Alan Manukian, but Alan Ray Powell is great to see you.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah.
Stuart, that was just very, very powerful, and it allowed me to get to a very deep place with Baba. I have a lot of gratitude, and it isn't the first time that I've done the meditation with you, with the group. It's wonderful, and I look forward to participating within myself in the future.
I'm really glad to hear that, Ellen.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
Yeah, you bet. Really glad to hear it.
Glad to see you, Melanie. Wonderful. What a treat. You know, it was Danny Moore's birthday today, and I was going to try to get him on, and I somehow everything started. We could have sung happy birthday to the guy.
Yeah. Happy birthday to Denny.
Yeah, 76.
Oh, wow, that's great. Oh, that's so nice. 4 more years to go till 80.
Yeah.
Thank you for a lovely meeting. And Stuart, this is really nice too. The meditation is really lovely as well. And so is hanging around, talking with old friends like we're in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, we're all in the refectory. I don't know where you are.
I'm in the refectory. I'm looking in the refrigerator.
The communal's got a lot of good stuff this week.
Hey, is anybody is anybody on the center at all?
No one except just the overnight watchman and up at the gateway. But during the day, the maintenance guys go in. They've been doing a lot of work during this period. Yeah.
So is the big yellow fence still back there near in the water?
Say that again.
Is the big yellow barrier still in the water?
That's still there. Yeah.
How long will that be there?
I don't know. Maybe it'll be there, I think, until Baba comes in 700 years.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
And he'll say, get rid of that thing. One lady, you know, it's funny. One lady who was kind of new saw that, and, you know, she thought that was like defining a little swimming space.
Oh.
She, you know, dived in her swimming suit and was swimming around in there.
She was?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Whoops.
Until we told her there are alligators in the area, and she got back on the dock very quickly.
She could have been cleaning it out, you know?
Yeah.
The alligators were smiling.
Licking their chops. Oh. Yeah. Well, it's sort of hard to say goodbye.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we're easing our way, and I thought Alan Manukian might be there, but you know, we got Jake here. Jake comes from a whole family of Baba lovers. They're all brainwashed.
In fact, I don't know if you are aware of this, Jeff, but Jessica is about to have a baby very soon.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, beautiful.
Good. So that will be the next one to brainwash, of course.
Yeah, the Baba family's expanding from within. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, please.
Hey, William. Yeah.
Nice little family there.
And Jolie. Hi ho, hi ho. Yeah. Hi there.
They're we're having some feelings right now. This is the transition period of the day.
Yeah.
So we're gonna sign off here. But lovely to spend this time with you all.
Yeah.
Jay Baba, everybody. Thank you, Jeff.
Jay Baba, Jay.
Bye, Jolie.
Bye, we had a movie night.
Are you going to give me some of your hair? You have some extra hair.
There, she threw some your way. She's a generous child.
Yep.
Aww.
Adorable.
Yeah. Well, please tell Denny happy birthday.
I will do that. I'll be calling him.
Maybe he'll come the next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good night, all. Jay Bob.
Okay. Good night, Melanie.
Wonderful to see you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Love to Kent. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Okay, Jay
Yeah.
Bob.
Well, I guess I better go eat. And yeah, great to see you guys. And thank you, Stu, really. I mean, it's like embodying what Darwin is writing about. We get to actually experience that fullness of Baba's love.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Yeah. Just praise to Baba.
Yeah, yep, I know you accredit it all to him. Okay, much love. See you guys.
Okay.
Hey, Baba.
Jay Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Thank you. I love this meeting.
Good to see you, Rosalie.
Good to see you, Stuart. Yeah. No, it's very good. I missed it last week. I mean, I missed. I thought we'd have the heart meditation. It's particularly helpful to me.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear it. I didn't do it last week. I actually missed a couple of weeks. Hadn't been feeling great.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been feeling great either, but it was almost very like breakthrough tonight, because at first I was doing it and thinking to myself, and finally I thought of this other person that's been such a ancient bugaboo in my life, and it was very interesting, just very interesting. So I need to do it more. You need to continue doing it. It's nice though that I like the quality of your voice. It's conducive to relaxing. And, there's so much, like say, look at Darwin. That's the first person, Western Mandali, that I felt Baba around was Darwin in Berkeley in 1971. I mean, it was like the voice holds so much. And I think, I think it's a good service, I mean, I think it's a good, loving service. And I'll tell you this interesting thing, because I used to go to these lectures by Manly Palmer Hall, and he was an astrologer, but he was on the 5th plane. Baba said he was on the 5th plane, amazing. And he said, Leo is a sign of service because it rules the heart. And the best ruler is the best servant, and it's like, just to find a way that we can contribute, and not be real glued to the fact that we're doing something, but letting Baba, it's just phenomenal to have that privilege. It's a privilege. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's so funny. It's like most of the time I'm muted and just going through hard times. I think a lot of people are. A lot of old stuff. Like I would say, my stuff is old, and it's so amazing how it can affect you through your whole life, I mean,
true.
Yes. And there were things about today, I mean, just sentences in this book, what we allow Baba to do for us, it's like we have to allow it. And
invite him.
Yes. And I didn't think of that, it's like been it was a real meeting. I had a very strong experience recently where I was talking to someone that supposedly renders a service. And I happened to mention that I was connected with the center. I went to the center and the person went ballistic. It very much affected me. And the person was going, oh, I've heard horrible things about that place. And, the person was very Baptist and talking the Bible. And I says, well, why wouldn't God come in human form more than once? I mean, but it really affected me. I almost was going to bring it up at this meeting, and I thought, how does that fit in? But it sort of does, because it causes wars and it causes freakouts with people, and even in my own family, it was I'm like the pariah, you know, and I was kind of addressing that tonight, you know. It was, wow, it was, yeah, I need to do it more. It's so amazing because I've been with Baba many years and I never felt like my heart open. And I thought, I did this performance one time, Stuart, and I was a new life clown and I was looking through a threshold and thinking, oh, the new life is going on without me. You know, there's just like, I don't get something, you know, I don't get it. Yeah, and it's real, like, and I think part of it stems from family and being the black sheep, like, you know, the pariah, you know. Anyway, it was a good night about it. Yeah, it was a good night. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can send love to the family members, you know.
Yeah, actually, it was interesting because there's, yeah, all of them. I mean, I could just see it was such a mess, a messy nest. And they just showed up, some of them, not all of them. But I mean, key people, and I thought, whoa. I hadn't counted on that at all, you know, and I really didn't want to send love to that or send, you know, because he just seemed so shut to it, you know. But that's what happened, and it was good, and yeah, I think it was sort of a heart opening of sort because, you know, it's so critical. I mean, it's a path of love, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. That's great to hear.
And I love when Jeff will say, and he says it periodically, he says, Baba adores you. And I thought, who wouldn't want that from, you know, from Christ? It adores you.
Yeah.
You know, there's that famous poet, he was poet laureate, and it says, love is Robert, I call it Robert Defrost. Love is the irresistible desire to be irresistibly desired. You know, in a way, you know, say like Mara had that, Mara experienced it with Avatar being, you know, part of Avatar. He said she couldn't live without it. Anyway, Stuart, maybe sometime, if we could do another session, I think it would be good if that's at all possible, because, you know, mine's slowly coming along, but it's gathering a little momentum, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm kind of overwhelmed by group. I have a karma with the group, you know. I have I mean, I think it's good, but still it's kind of overwhelming, you know, especially in Corona time. It's so bizarre, you know.
Yeah, well, we could do that. We could do that, but I'm really happy to hear that you feel like your heart.
I feel a beginning, yes,
Yeah.
a beginning, because I've never felt that. Yeah, I mean, I've been to India 7 times, you know, and I remember once I was feeling really miserable, and Mani caught me. I was on the bus, I'd been crying, and she saw me and she goes, oh, come on now, Rosalie, give me that big watermelon smile. And then I started sobbing, just sobbing. And when I was sobbing, and she said it in the most poignant way, she says, I felt like I was crying in maybe like a big hall marble, it was the sound. And she says, but he loves you. What more do you want? And that kind of, I think, wow, what more do I want? That's more than a head scratcher.
Yeah, well, and that love is infinite, and layer by layer can do magic.
Yeah. I mean, just the thought of something being infinite.
Yeah.
Well, you have a wonderful birthday. Your birthday is nigh upon. Aren't you the 11th?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that irreducible number. Those double numbers. Right. Yeah. And anyway, I'm very glad you do this. And it's just very helpful. And it really lines up with that meeting. It really does. Yeah.
Lines up with what?
With that meeting. The meeting. Effort and grace.
Yeah.
And I miss it if it doesn't come. Yeah. And I was.
So we can get together again. I'm gonna have to run in a minute, but we can get together again.
Well, tell Danusha hello.
I will.
I send my love. It's so weird being in this period where you never run into people.
I know, it's.
And Edwina, I'm sure she's all right.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
It's good to know you, Stuart.
You too. Thank you. Jai Baba, Rosalie.
Jai Baba. Bye-bye.